So my name is Annette Diaz, and I am originally from Bridgeport, Connecticut. So growing up in Bridgeport was difficult. We, I have two sisters and my mom, and we came here from the military base. My mom had to leave my father because he had a substance abuse problem. I remember running away at like 14 years old and was like, this can't be the way family is supposed to be. But when I ran away, I was young, so they brought me back home. And then I tried it again like a year later, and I ran away to Puerto Rico. That way she couldn't find me. And I waited till I turned 18 and came back out here. Um, so I stood in Puerto Rico for a few years, learned how to cook, clean, work, and then went to New York for a couple years, and then I came back to Bridgeport. And that's when things kind of turned. I wasn't accepted in my family, so I got connected to the gang family back home in Bridgeport. Um, so I got connected to the Latin Queens, and I grew up there, and that was my life. And then I got into drugs, and 50,000 arrests, stolen cars, selling drugs, doing drug. I mean, you name it. Um, I was lost, I guess. I've been arrested about 32 times. My longest stay in prison was 18 months. I had got sentenced. I can't even remember. I had an altercation with my daughter's father when I was pregnant, and I shot him in the arm. But we had so much domestic violence, so they gave me like it was. I think it was supposed to be, I was supposed to do 3 years in jail, but I did 18 months. So while working full time, I lost my best friend through suicide. So I said, let me tackle the suicide system, right? Because obviously they missed something. And so I started this whole movement called Connecticut Hearing Voices Movement for people who experience psychosis or hearing voices. And, there's such a bad label with that and stigma. And to them, it's really real, even though you can't see the person next to them, but they do. And then I found out some research about that. Like 72% of people who hear voices is because of trauma. And that bothered me because it's not their fault. So I had challenged the state like, this is a problem, here's a solution, but you're not listening. What's the problem? And so they said, well, we'll give you some money to see if you can figure it out. So I have 18 support groups right now to this day active in Connecticut. So somehow, through the state of Connecticut, I became a trainer for what they call evidence-based practices and in peer support services. One of the biggest accomplishments, honestly, I've ever done was challenge a behavioral health system where, like I said, when my friend passed away, it was devastating. She hung herself, and I was so upset about it because she worked with me in the same company. And I remember coming to the company the next day and handed in my keys and said I quit. And I remember crying for like 2 days, and my boyfriend's like, what are we gonna do? And I'm like, I don't know. And I remember the vice president coming to my house, and he says, what do I need to fix? He said, draft me a proposal. And I was like, what is that? Well, I didn't know the language. And I contacted my support system, and they told me what it was, and I drafted up my own job description. And so he gave me a chance. And he said, I'm gonna give you a chance for part-time. And I ran with it. I just succeeded. I learned how to write policies, procedures, job descriptions. I compromised. I used my street skills that were on the streets over here with these people with business. So it worked. And I created 38 jobs. And I made a mark, and that's what I wanted to do. I wanted someone to know that Annette Diaz is not 337743. Annette Diaz is an advocate, a mom. Annette Diaz is someone who makes sense.